It
Oh,
says
I'll wait.
starting recording, and now okay, yeah, it's a go.
Okay, I'll go. So I'm just excited that at one point I had learned that I had realized that in broadcast, as a broadcaster, you can to be a good broadcaster, it's all about learning it, spitting it out, knowing your subject and people knowing that you know it. And but it's
Hmm.
very difficult to make that look easy, and it's a lot of skill, it's a lot of time. And I got to that point and I feel good about that work, but I just didn't want to work so hard. So I was looking forward to one day having some sort of show where I was the expert, because doing all the boat series and car racing series and sports, I knew I of course I know a lot of sports, but when you start doing all sports like Oxygen Network and ESPN and all these types of things in speed, you can't know all those. But when you're at those events, you're used to other broadcasters being there. But then this is a time where they started bringing in all the, instead of broadcasters or
Hmm.
as the broadcaster, it would be a former race car driver or something. And you're like, hey, you're taking our gigs. But then I started going, well, they know it. They know it. They know their information. That's the best people to have. Even though we're still good to have one of us, we need a token broadcaster. But I just couldn't wait to be able to do a show where I was like that and they brought me in and I knew the subject. And I feel like that on Coast to Coast without a doubt. And doing my own show, Blue Rock Talk.
Yeah,
Just
you've
so
been
much
doing
easier.
now. This has been several years now that you've been doing coast to coast, and I guess the Blue Rock, and is it like 7 years now, or
7 years on Coast to
7 years?
Coast and been doing all sorts of fun things, playing on the internet, which is, come on, how cool is this, right?
Hmm.
Right? As a doing the
Yeah,
broadcaster thing, a TV station or a network's got, or even doing a film project, there's 300 people there, or a TV show with a network, there's 300 people there. And now you do it with this. It's great.
yeah.
I'm in my closet. Brent.
I remember as a kid thinking, "Oh, me, wouldn't it be, like I'd read in the back of there'd be these advertisements in Science and Mechanics or Popular Science or
Oh, yeah.
something, and they'd have this little radio thing where you could broadcast over live radio, except it had to be within 300 feet or something." you know, and I was thinking, "Oh man, that sounds cool, but just 300 feet." Uh, and then you have movie cameras, but to get the sound, that was
Go in the
usually the second.
mall.
Yeah, it wasn't involved, and and now kids growing up, they can do all these videos and things,
Yeah.
video chats, and create, YouTubes, and
Yeah.
man, it was just, and now
Yeah.
got all
And
this
that's what
gray
I'm
hair,
doing.
I can finally do some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing it just like you're doing it. And what's bad is everybody's catching up to you and you're like, "No." But having the broadcast background, you still have, you feel like you have better quality and you know what you're doing. However, somebody will come up and you're like, how are you doing this? You have no background." But we do have certain people that are in it. We have certain standards for sure. So I think
Mhm.
it's a better show usually and something to follow. And it's great because people join it. They're my blue rockers and they don't leave. It's fun. It's just a really nice community. We're not 101. It's not, is this real or not? This is real. And how does this Bigfoot thing relate to that ghost thing or that UFO thing or that alien thing or whatever that thing is over there that we don't know what it
Mhm.
is, right?
Yeah, because a lot of people, and I guess you could include yourself in the category here of being encounter prone to some extent.
Oh yeah,
Some people
yeah.
have some kind of a natural sensitivity,
Yeah,
um, and that's an interesting field in itself. You got people studying that aspect,
that's true. That's true.
and
I didn't know they were
people.
studying that though. Who's studying that? Here's a victim right here.
Well, I worked some with the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research and
Oh, yeah,
Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Experiences, and they had a lot of PhD people, a lot of them retired, who studied neuroscience
yeah,
and some physics and things, and they were interested in the area of the experiencer, not just having one experience, but being a repeater, not only of UFO
yeah,
contact, but seeing ghosts. And it was like
yeah,
all of this for a lot of these people is more than the normal background of you know
Yeah.
most people that you will talk to. So there's
Yeah.
something about him, and the fact that you've got
I like to say this, Brent. They like me. And I think it's describing what you're talking about because it's not always fun. You're like, I don't know if I want to go over there because I know they like me. Stand in
well,
front of me, please.
well, what's interesting is too you got scientists who want to actually do brain scans of people who are experiencers,
Yeah.
and there's Gary Nolan of Nolan Lab at Stanford. He's engaged in that process with Dr. Christopher Kit Green, who worked with the CIA back in 70 to about 86, studying
Mm.
the remote viewers and people at
Yeah.
Stanford and such. So studied Uri Geller. Uri Geller, I think, was the one that really made him a believer, because that was pretty extraordinary stuff. But anyway,
Did he get to work with Ingo before Ingo passed?
I'm sure he did, because it was from 72 when they first
Right.
brought Geller. Puharich came, from Israel and brought Geller over, and so it was the beginning of the project there at Stanford on all of that, and you had quite a cast of characters. You had Russ Targ, and you had a physicist, and of course you had also Hal Puthoff,
Yeah.
and
I was trying to think of Hal's name. I was like, who's the other dude? Yeah. Who's
yeah,
always with Russell.
what a cast of characters. Of course, Jacques Vallée was also involved early
Yeah.
on because he said that in 1971 he was drafted in, I think confidentially, to just study some of the remote viewers because so many of them seemed to also be telling about having UFO experiences.
All of yeah. Now I worked under Lynn Buchanan. I got certified under Lynn,
Mhm.
and yeah, talked to Joe along the way. All of them, right? Because when you know one, you know them all, because
Yeah,
they're just in their little group. But yeah, and they all talk about all the ETs and UFOs and things like that as if it's no big deal, as if it's everyday talk. I recognize that too
mhm.
immediately. I was like, they act like there's nothing here, and these are the guys that can look and see anything, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty intriguing. There's
Yeah.
a new book out, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
Ah,
It's pretty intriguing.
who's that by?
George Knapp, and there's a couple of
Oh, by Knapp. Okay, our other
yeah,
coast to coast guy.
yes,
Okay.
and a couple of other authors. I can't think of their name right now, but they're like PhD type people, and
Mm-hmm.
we're involved in some of them, military and such, and science, and studying the events that were going on at the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah that Bigelow, was spearheading. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of very interesting stories there.
Yeah. And those places are everywhere. There are, and when everybody talks about Skinwalker Ranch, that's all great and all, but those places, they're all over the world. They're everywhere. It's not the only one.
Yep, yeah, there's a lot of places, a lot of stones to kick over
Yeah.
and look under. Yeah.
Yeah, I call them creepy hotspots, and I take you there live virtually. And there's one that we go to. I tell you what, Brent, you'll have to go if you travel outside of where you are. If you come over this way, there's Bigfoot, there's beams of light, there's strange lights, there's weird creatures, there's dogman, there's sparkles, there's spirits. And what's your thing? Are you more into the spiritual part? Are you more into the ghosty side of it, or
I'm
does it matter?
I'm kind of like the late John Keel, in Strange Creatures in Time and Space, which was a lot of cryptid stuff. But
Yeah.
and I read where he really was more interested in that than a lot of other things. But actually, he saw it as all interrelated. He said, "Aliens, ghosts, what's the difference? Because they all walk through walls, they all communicate with telepathy. They
That's
all,
what my show's about. Yes,
you know."
exactly.
So
Exactly.
there's a lot of threads to
Yeah,
unravel here, and to look, a lot of
it's
dots to
true.
connect.
Yeah.
A lot of things that's potentially interconnected that is often not. So really, it's a good field for anthropologists and
Yeah.
neuroscience people and physics people. You need to bring them all together and
Yes.
compare notes. Although,
And stop the egos. Just get over
yes,
it. Let's, and be open because somebody else might think something or experience something different than you. But you got to be honest too, right? There's people that
oh yeah, yeah, and
will
I realized from my own
embellish.
early days that it was hard to get to that point where I didn't just dismiss things out of hand myself because it sounded crazy. Because
I know. And those are the things you find out are true later. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's true.
and then
It just
later,
happened to me.
and then later, I'm struggling to reconstruct what I was told years ago that I thought was, crazy. And now it's like, oh no, that was really.
Oh, like what? Like what? Because I know it's
Well,
true.
in 1975, when I came to where I am now, Waynesboro, Tennessee, I heard this story about this family lived on a ridge, and they were one of the family members who I went and talked to had said he saw like like a 12-foot Indian man up on a hill, and he had a bow and arrow, and he shot it at the guy. And he
Oh,
said instead of being like a regular arrow, it was the size of a spear, and he watched it coming at him, and he had a cat on his shoulder that went with him when he was out hunting, and it took the cat. It went through the cat, and the cat was dead on the ground, and then it came back to life.
oh,
So
good.
this is and then he saw this giant snake in a later experience. Oh, and they had these. And other family members could tell you they'd seen these clods of clay coming out of the sky, hitting the ground, and when they break open, there would be arrowheads in them. So,
Oh
but then
man.
I talked to some medicine men, and this guy says, "Oh yeah, up in Pennsylvania, I once saw a 200-foot rattlesnake." So visionary, psychoid, whatever you want to call it, these experiences, and I was like, I don't know if I can really wrap my mind around this, and so I've been looking for that file.
So have you seen, so what has changed your mind to where you're at least open to that?
Well, I tried to be open after, I thought I was evolving, reading John Keel, Jacques Vallée, and people like that, and all the high strain type things. A lot of it's visionary, but I was still had a strong pull for, I still like to see the flying saucer, with the dome and the little antenna on the top, and where I go over and kick it. Yep, that's metallic. That's real. Not everything, works out as quite the way. One night I was at a site where there'd been activity, and I had been practicing some psychometry at the time, and I told everybody we go out here at 11 o'clock, or maybe it was 11:15, and there's a field we go out to, and we'll see a UFO. Well, we went out right at that time, me and two other people, and we saw this beam of light coming up from behind the trees.
Oh,
And it was in the direction I said, except it was a beam of light, and I couldn't really see the source. So I was really kind of ticked, but
they don't always glow. That's right. They don't always glow.
it would slowly go up, and then it would stop, and then it would go up a little further and stop. It had an ending point. Then finally it hit the clouds above, and then it slowly retracted, stopped, retracted a little, and it was pulsing the whole time. So to me, it was no ordinary light. It was anomalous to me. I'd never seen a light like that. And so, what was that? And how come I could actually accurately predict?
Where'd that come from?
So anyway, but
Good.
and then of course the EVP thing, I had tried to do that for years. Then with working, well, Sandy Nichols introduced me to Brett Oldham, who's like himself,
I love Brett.
alien abductee, and we were working on paranormal investigations when we were first introduced. I didn't know that Brett was also an alien abductee. He was still in the closet at that point.
Oh, he was. Okay.
And but he showed us how he got EVPs, and I followed his methodology and actually began, got my own radio from Radio Shack, a digital AM FM that my son-in-law picked up, and he fixed it where the scanner mechanism was on continuous scan, and you just listen to where the white noise is for the voices. And just like with Brett, I started picking up John Keel. Now, Brett really didn't know much about John Keel, but he had just died a few months earlier, and we started getting John Keel. And even down here at my house here, 70-something miles from Sandy, started getting John Keel. In fact, at one time, my wife said, "John, I want to talk to some other people. Please stay off."